I remember going on YouTube prior to going to OTS and not having enough resources or understanding of what I was getting myself into. But I always knew I wanted to go into the Air Force, and OTS was just one of those obstacles. Being here in the seat and having garnered over a year of experience, I can answer some of you guys' questions, and it'll allow me to elaborate on some of you guys' concerns, etc. What's really good on my day ones? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here answering all your questions. I have about 30 questions, maybe a little less because some of them were repetitive. So I'll do my best to get this done quick. So I'm going to put time markers in the bottom just so you could kind of track as to what questions you have and kind of correlate with what the answer is. But besides that, hope you guys enjoy. Let me go ahead and get to it. First question is, which school and MSM program did you finish first before joining the Air Force? Just like you, I'm interested in joining the Air Force as well. I did my master's in nursing informatics through Aspen University. It wasn't that bad. The price wasn't that bad. I was able to pay it off pretty quick. You know, it was very affordable, but I did mine through them. They were a really good program, I think. Next question. Hey Genesis, can I ask how old you are? I just had my 31st birthday and I wondered if the military is too late for me. I'm actually 35, and believe it or not, I don't look my age. I got blessed with the Asian genetic genes of being able to look young. But you aren't old yet. The cutoff for the nursing field is actually 45 years old. I don't know if that's just medical in general, but I know for a fact that nursing cutoff age is at 45. Hi, what was your recruiter's information? So if you need my recruiter's information, I will leave that down below. Next question. Hey, what do you think about the nurse enlisted commissioning program? Thank you for the video. So I've spoken to a lot of people who did do the NTP, which is the nurse transition program. And this is basically going from enlisted to officer. And for the most part, a lot of the people who did their nursing degree, my understanding is the program is hand selected for the few who are able to go to NTP. Half the nurses that I have worked with, they started their nursing program whilst in the Air Force or whilst enlisted. I don't know the exact mechanism and I apologize. They went through that NTP program, which allowed them to go from enlisted to commissioned officers. I think it's a great program, especially if you're enlisted and you're trying to go the officer route, especially if you have a good number of years under your belt as enlisted. I know people who've done like 10 years of enlisted and then transitioned to officer. Now they have like 10 years left. So yeah, I think it's a great program. Next question. I want to do this. How hard is it to join the Air Force as a nurse? This question is a plethora of information. I'll try my best to answer it really quick. You make it as hard as you want to make it. And what I mean by making it as hard as you want to be is that if you are going in with zero experience, the competition's stiff. Your competition is against people who have experience, are able to answer clinical questions correctly. You have to understand that the competition is hard. Whereas you come in with a couple of years of experience from civilian, let's just say you have more experience under your belt and you're able to back up why your interventions are done in a certain manner. The thing about nursing is it never really changes. Either there's always some breakthrough kind of intervention, but management of a patient, let's say for example, with hypoglycemia is always going to be the same. Give some sugar and then recheck the blood sugars. Did your intervention work? Again, you're going up against some pretty tough candidates. Your goal is to make your resume look really, really good before going in because they meet for a board and you have to look good in front of the board. Next question. Was it just your dad or both your parents in the military? Good question. My father was in the Navy. My mom was a Navy spouse. So she did work with education. And my dad, he did the full 21 years in the Navy. You know what? All the places that we've ever been to, even though it sucked having to meet new friends, having to move around all the time, I thought it's a blessing because it really does help you in bigger changes. So let's say, for example, you need to up and move. At least you know what to do in certain circumstances when it comes to transitioning, because sometimes transitioning isn't easy, especially if it's like your first time moving from place to place. So it's definitely a skill set that I gained throughout the years, and it's helped me connect the dots to what I need to do prior to leaving or moving or whatnot. Next question. Hey Jen, I want to ask about when to apply to commission as a flight nurse. I was told that to commission as a flight nurse I would need 2 years of experience and that the whole applying process takes approximately 1 year. The question is, can I apply at the 1 year mark of experience and apply since the process takes 1 year, or do I need to do the 2 years up front, then apply? I hope it makes sense. I would say get your 2 years in. But this is a complex question because they really do want you to have your 2 years in, and to be good at like either med surg or even critical care, you need at least 2 years for the dots to connect. I've always heard this throughout my career that 2 years makes you a better nurse. I'm not going to say that 1 year isn't enough. Some people progress differently, and you have to take that into consideration that not everyone progresses as fast. But the 2 year mark is a substantial enough experience for the boards to say this guy has 2 years of experience, whereas one person who has like 1 year of experience, you know what I'm talking about? Like they're gonna take the person who has more experience when it comes to the board. Definitely consider doing 2 years prior to applying, but I know people who have applied at 1 year mark and have impressed, you know, the boards. Hey man, future nurse here who is looking potentially doing reserve nursing as a supplement to my civilian nursing career. Do you have any tips or things to look out for or experiences with those who were reserve nurses? Keep doing big things, man. Great question. So one of my good buddies who I was at OTS with, he was my roommate, he is a reservist nurse and he loves what he does. There's a balance. There's a great balance of being a nurse and also being in the Air Force, you know, as Air Force reservist. My understanding is he still gets the great benefits, like, you know, healthcare benefits. I forgot exactly what it was that they do. I think they have to report twice a month and also 1 month out of the year. It's more flexible. You get to work as a civilian nurse while quote unquote serving your country. Next question. What type of nurse did you join as? I have a year of tele and I'm training in the CVICU now. Get my options, and as an Air Force brat, I'm intrigued. Also, random, if you are an ICU nurse, do you get to work as CCATT nurse also, or just deployment kind of situation? Thanks again. There's a lot of steps to this. Regarding a question as CCATT, CCATT is a competitive program. They want to make sure that you pass the program. So it's a 2-step program. You have CCATT Initial, and then you have CCATT Advanced. For those who are wondering, CCATT is Critical Care Air Transport Team. They get to do some cool stuff. They get to work on KC-135s. You get to work on C-17 Galaxies. How it works is there's one nurse, one doctor, and one RT. Basically running the show when it comes to taking care of this patient, because if there's more than one patient, you have to be able to think and do interventions while in this hectic environment. Now remember, you're in a plane, it's hard to hear, and you have just headphones on and you're just trying to take care of a patient. So to answer your question, not everyone gets to do CCATT. They want people who have experience to do CCATT because of how hard the program is. And we go by what are called our CPGs, which are our critical practice guidelines. And you need to have a basic understanding of those CPGs in order to anticipate certain intervention whilst in the air. Yeah, if you really want to do that, if you are an ICU nurse, there is a way to do it. But they also look for people who have experience. They're going to take someone who's been a captain versus someone who's a lieutenant. Definitely consider experience versus people who don't have experience. So if you come in as a lieutenant, they're going to take the captain over the lieutenant. Next question. Hello, I am a nurse in Brazil. In a few months, I will get my green card to work in the USA. Always wanted to know with the GC, can I be commissioned in the Air Force? You cannot be commissioned in the Air Force with a green card. You have to be a United States citizen. I don't know exactly the US citizen guidelines. I think you have to be in the United States for a minimum of X amount of years. I don't know if it was 3 to 5 or something like that. But once you qualify for your citizenship, then you'll have to get, like me, get a degree that is by ACEN or CCNE. Next question. Hey Jen, I want your opinion on my initial career move. I'm having trouble with getting into public schools nursing program. I have a high GPA and did well on the T's. However, it's too competitive here in California. Do you think it's worthwhile to go private school and take on the debt? I pretty much have all the prerequisites for nursing school, so I will only be there for 2 years. However, the tuition is close to 6 figures. Or should I keep applying to other public schools, which is much cheaper, but might prolong my nursing journey? What would you do if you were in my shoes? Thanks, Andre. See, this is the part where it's hard to advocate, especially, you know, I wasn't in those shoes. If there's a means, there's a way. And there's a way for you to get into nursing. I know a lot of people who went through the LVN route. Let's say they went through, you know, they just did the LVN route and then they applied to a BSN online program. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. And the best way to go about this is finding out every option to get into BSN. Sometimes people don't look online because they feel like it's, you know, it's not as prestigious. If I had the choice, you know, if I was in the States when I was doing my BSN, I probably would have went to like a community college, only because I'm pretty practical. I'm not going to spend X amount of money on a degree which I know is going to put me into debt or a disadvantage with money. That's my opinion, and that's my opinion alone. You have to ask yourself, is that something that you want to take on? Is that because that's a big responsibility, and you really do have to understand that with debt you do accrue a lot of compound interest, and that's not a good thing, especially if you're taking on such a big debt. And if you do it, you want to be very aggressive in paying that off right away, because close to $100,000 in debt, you can pay it off quick, but you gotta have that mission that you're gonna pay it off. Next question, please keep posting about military stuff, not enough videos about it. Ways, venues, opportunities, please more. Okay, that's not more so a question, but I will do my best to post more. Next question, man, I'm over here waiting to get scrolled. By the way, what additional duties did your unit assign you? You coming out with the OTS packing list? Did they do away with the shortened OTS classes or RCO 2 weeks classes? So the duties will depend on you and what you want to do with your career. My additional duties are in informatics and also anything information system related. I'm tackling that task on while also doing other things around my unit. Am I coming out with the OTS packing list? If you look in the AFI, they usually give you AFI prior to you going to OTS, and there's a packing list in there. So I'm not going to go too in depth with that. Next question, what's your work hours like? Is it 3 12-hour shifts like a civilian or no? So we have what's called a Panama schedule. We work 3 and 4. So it really does depend. So our unit, we do 4 months of day shifts, 2 months of night shifts. Great break from day shift because sometimes you get burnt out, and then the night shift is kind of just like a breather, because now at least you get to be on nights for 2 months and just not to have to deal with like really busy patients. We usually do 3 12s for 1 week, and then next week would be like 1 admin day and then another 3 12s. So it really does depend on your duties or your extra duties on the unit. For me, I usually do 2 admin days a month. Kind of helps me kind of see a broader perspective of how the unit's running, and also, you know, what duties can I do to help around the unit. It's not like civilian, but it's something that I love doing because I feel like my time is worthwhile and it's not being wasted. How was the chief nurse interview? If you want me to do another video on the chief nurse interview, let me know down below. But to summarize, the chief nurse interview was actually really easygoing. My chief nurse was very nice and just basically discussed how military life was. It wasn't as tiresome as the critical care consult. Very laid back, and I actually enjoyed having a conversation with the chief nurse. Next question, is that your side hustle in the back? For those who don't know, I crypto trade. In one of my videos, like it showed some of my stuff in the back. I didn't take it down, but yeah, that's my side hustle. And can one be a nurse and a pararescue at the same time? I'm pretty lost. My understanding is if you started off in pararescue, that AFSC will always be with you. If you are a nurse and you upgrade, let's say from enlisted to a nurse, like your primary will always be a nurse. But there are venues where you could use your pararescue, like with SOS-T. You're doing some pretty crazy missions and pararescue skills will come into play. So it really does depend on what you do with your experience. And yeah, you won't be doing it at the same time, but those skills will kick in at some point. How long did it take for your whole process of being accepted to the program and ship off date? So it took me about 10 months. From initial point of contact to ship date. I remember after initial point of contact, it took about 2 months before I went to MEPS, and it took another 3 months. Now I'm gonna say, yeah, about another 3 months to get my chief nurse interview, my critical care interview. After that, I want to say 2 to 3 months after that, we heard word back that I was leaving, and then I was shipping off in October. So about 10 months. Next question. Wait, what? Military? That's why I haven't seen any recent videos of you. Anyways, I wish you more blessings and good luck with everything. Yes, military. I love the military. Next question. A more important question. Can you drink coffee at OTS? Yes, you can, but it takes 2 weeks. So I would highly suggest before going to OTS that you do a caffeine cleanse, because if you don't do a caffeine cleanse, the first 2 weeks, you are having nonstop headaches. I was curious what rank you got when you signed your contract. 03 isn't bad being an MSN with, what, 6 years experience? A lot of times they try to argue that for every 1 year of civilian experience nursing, it's roughly 6 months of military nursing given the schedule as a military nurse. So by military math, you got 3 years and a grad degree. So kudos, bro. Approximately 3 years with a master's degree, and it converted me over to a captain. captain first step. So in a year, I'll get my next step, so a little bit more money. So yeah, you're about right. Thanks for the video series. My wing is having an OTS board here shortly, and I'm putting in a package. One thing I'm curious to learn was what a typical day was like and the freedoms or lack thereof you had. As enlisted right now, all I have here is my experience with BMT, where it was very controlled, and to me, it felt more like a prison in many aspects. The only outside communication was through letters, and all I had for my entertainment was my study guide. There was many evenings of folding laundry and staring at cinder block walls. I'd love if you can share more of what life is like from waking up to the general chores you'd have to find time for in the training cycle. Every time I think back to OTS, it gives me PTSD. No, but really, so the first 2 weeks you need to understand is basically conditioning. So this is like BMT. They whip you into shape. You're marching everywhere, and from point A to point B, you're literally marching, and you're kind of getting to know your flight. It's a lot more lax than that of BMT, to a sense where you are expected to behave, because you're up against, you're with people who already have their degrees and are professionals. So everyone there is pretty much professional. It's just a matter of staying in line, if I may. You're gonna run into civilians who aren't trained a certain way. It's kind of frustrating because some of them don't listen, and you basically have the civilians who are there to learn and also want to be there, and you got the ones who are there who are pretty lax, and it's hard to train. It's hard to train a zebra who already has his stripes, if you understand that metaphor. It's kind of just like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. What we did for fun was basically at nights that no one would watch us. They told us not to be on our phone, but of course you can have your phone because you get like your own private drawer. So you leave your phone in your private drawer, and this is what you had. This is what we did. And you also have your laptop, so you're allowed to have your laptop. So people were watching Netflix, some people were studying, some people weren't even studying, they were just sleeping. Well, that's about it. All the questions were kind of pretty much the same. I didn't want to touch too much on each topic, but if you really want me to talk about a topic, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will do my best to do so. Okay? Anyways, you guys take care. I'll see you guys in the next video, and yeah.